I returned home for the winter showcase and casually asked my daughter, "Do you see our photo in the family album?" She tilted her head, brows furrowed. "You're not in it," she whispered, almost like it was a secret. Across the auditorium, my mother went still. My sister froze mid-wave. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask again. I just smiled and nodded. It was a soft moment, barely a flicker in the buzzing school hall. But inside me, something quiet cracked. We walked past the displays, the science boards, the glitter-covered crafts, the timeline of families through the years hanging on butcher paper. Her photo was there, a toddler on Grandpa's lap, at Disneyland with Aunt Marianne, a birthday cake lit by Grandma's hands. But none of me, not one. No snapshots from the ER where I worked double shifts. No sleepless nights rocking her through croup. No blurry selfie on the day she lost her first tooth while I held the phone with trembling fingers on a lunch break. "They said you were gone a lot," she added gently, not accusing, just processing. I kept my eyes forward. "Did they say why?" "Just that you were tired, that you didn't want to deal with things." I breathed in, slow. That's what they told her, that I didn't want her. Not that I was working 70-hour weeks to keep her fed. Not that I was sleeping in my car between shifts. Not that I sent money through my father's account every single month for her food, her shoes, her school trips, because I knew how fast judgment grows in silence. I thought I was doing the right thing, keeping her connected to them, letting her feel she belonged somewhere warm, while I scrambled through cold fluorescent corridors. But what they built wasn't warmth. It was a curated gallery where I didn't exist. Later that night, while she slept in the twin bed next to mine in the guest room, I opened my laptop, typed in the bank portal. Every transfer logged, $850 on the first of each month, labeled, "For Emily." I clicked through 10 years of deposits, rent, textbooks, health insurance, birthday gifts, camp fees, all sent through Dad's account because he said, "It's easier with taxes," and because I believed them, because I wanted so badly to believe that family meant shared weight, that even if I wasn't welcome at the table, they would pass the plate to her. But now I saw the truth. They'd erased me to make room for their version. They raised her on a story where I was distant, absent, difficult, and all the while, they used what I gave to build a different legacy in my name. I remembered the time I sent an extra $500 for her braces and got a group text back with a photo of her smiling next to my mother, and Aunt captioned, "3 generations of strong women." I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't even in the caption. And still, I said nothing. I didn't want to seem petty. I thought silence was strength. I thought she'd know. That somehow she'd feel my presence in the snacks packed in her backpack, the field trip forms paid on time, the ballet shoes that fit perfectly every fall. I thought a daughter could recognize a mother through absence, when that absence was filled with sacrifice. But now I realize children don't learn to read between the lines unless someone teaches them to. They believe what's printed, what's framed, what's said over dinner. She's tired. She's complicated. She's busy with work. No one said, "She's saving us." The next morning I made pancakes. She poured syrup and asked if we could go to the library later. I said yes. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. She didn't mean anything by it. "Don't make this a thing." I didn't reply. I opened my email instead. Composed a short message to the school office. I asked them to update the contact records. Legal guardian, Sarah Whitmore. Sole custodial parent. Emergency contact. Medical release. Field trip approval. I attached the documents, all signed, all notarized. The photos could lie, the hallway displays could omit. But not this. This would stay on file. Then I forwarded the same email to my parents. No message, just the attachment. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. Then Dad. Then a group message lit up. "What are you doing?" "Don't be dramatic." "We didn't mean it that way." I turned the phone face down. Emily was singing to herself, flipping through a picture book on the couch, her hair still damp from the shower. I watched her for a long time, 10 years, and she still didn't know the story. But she would. I'd make sure of it. Quietly, clearly, without permission. 3 days later, a package arrived at my doorstep. No return address. Just my name, in my mother's handwriting. Inside, I found a leather-bound album. It looked expensive, heavy. I opened it slowly, expecting more silence, but it was filled with photos. Of Emily. Her first school play, her 3rd birthday, Christmas mornings with matching pajamas, all framed and smiling, all without me. In some, my sister stood with her, hand on her shoulder like a proud guardian. In others, Emily sat beside my father reading, or holding my mother's hand at a county fair I never knew they attended. One photo near the middle stopped me. Emily at 5, holding a sign that read, "First day of kindergarten." The same sign I had hand-drawn on recycled cardboard during a double shift, mailed overnight with a note, "Make sure she holds this. Take a photo. I want to feel like I was there." I remembered that day. I'd called in during my break, hoping to catch a glimpse over video. No one picked up. Now the photo was here. But the note? Never mentioned. My name? Never written. I closed the album. Later that evening, I brought it into Emily's room. She was doing homework on the floor, papers spread out like lily pads. "Mom," she asked, "was I a hard baby?" I paused. "Why?" "Grandma used to say you weren't good with babies." That I cried a lot, that it was too much for you. My hands clenched. I sat beside her. "You cried like any baby," I said. "But you stopped when I sang. Every single time." "I don't remember," she whispered. "You don't have to," I replied. "I do." She looked down, then handed me a paper. An essay draft. Title: "The Woman Who Raised Me." It was about my mother, about strength and sacrifice, about how she stepped in when others stepped out. I read it slowly, carefully, every word a quiet erasure. A story I'd let grow by staying out of the frame. I didn't cry. I just circled 2 words. Others stepped out. Then I handed it back. She looked at the circle, confused. "Was it wrong?" "Not wrong," I said, "just incomplete." She didn't ask more. She didn't need to. That night, I opened my archived emails, pulled up years of transfer confirmations, photos of Emily's first bike, the one I bought but was gifted to her from Santa, screenshots of texts from my father. Got the deposit, thanks. We'll make sure she has what she needs. I gathered them all into a folder labeled, "For her, eventually." Then I opened the mortgage portal, the one I hadn't checked in months. It took a few clicks, but there it was, a line item. Temporary hardship forbearance approved. Under my name. I hadn't applied for any hardship. I hadn't even been late. But someone had paused the mortgage without my knowledge. Someone who had my name, my details. I called the bank. They confirmed. Filed online. Verified through the account email on record. The email matched the one my father set up years ago to streamline bills. A joint inbox we used only for utility payments. I hadn't touched it since Emily turned 6. I asked the bank for copies of the application. They said they'd email it. When it arrived, I opened it and stared. The digital signature was mine. The hardship reason said, "Single parent, currently unemployed, supporting dependent grandchild." They weren't just rewriting me out. They were repositioning me as a missing link. A silent provider whose identity could be borrowed, rewritten, and eventually forgotten. I sat back in my chair. The room was dim, lit only by the hallway nightlight. Emily had fallen asleep with her book on her chest, a pencil still in hand. I looked at her. I thought about every check I'd sent, every absence I'd tried to cover with consistency, and how they'd turned all of it into a lie so clean it became invisible. That night, I drafted a letter. Not to them, to the school. I asked for a meeting. I brought a folder, documents, proof, legal custody confirmation, everything. I requested that all parent-teacher communications go directly through me, that no other party was authorized. They asked why. I said, because it's time the right name was on the record. A week later, I stopped by Emily's classroom after dismissal. Her teacher smiled and handed me a crayon drawing. It showed Emily holding 2 hands, mine and my mother's, a house in the background, 3 hearts overhead. Underneath, she had written, "Thank you for all the things I didn't know you did." I stood there for a moment, then folded the page and placed it carefully into my bag. Not everything needed correcting. Some things just needed time. It started with a voicemail from my father. I was at the grocery store, waiting in line with a gallon of milk and a box of frozen waffles when my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number at first. The message was short. "Sarah, we need to talk. There's been confusion." His voice was clipped, polite, the way someone speaks to a customer service rep, not a daughter. I deleted it. The next day, a letter arrived. Not typed, handwritten, From my mother. The kind of paper you use for holidays. She had underlined certain phrases: miscommunication, family should talk. We've all made sacrifices. I read it twice before putting it in the drawer with the others. I didn't reply. That week, Emily came home with a permission slip for a school overnight. It required a parent's signature and emergency contact. I filled it out, checked the box that limited pickup to me only, and handed it back. 2 days later, the school called. They said her grandmother had arrived during lunch hour unannounced and insisted she was listed on file. I drove there in silence. My hands gripped the wheel tighter than I meant. When I arrived, Emily was sitting in the office chair, small and curled. My mother stood behind her, arms folded, lips tight. "You're overreacting," she said as I walked in. She just wanted to see her. I didn't look at her. I crouched beside Emily. "You okay?" She nodded, but her eyes didn't meet mine. She was embarrassed. Or confused. Maybe both. I signed her out and took her home. We ate dinner quietly. She picked at her broccoli. "Grandma said you used to leave for days," she mumbled. "That I cried, and you didn't come back." I swallowed. "I worked nights, sometimes double shifts." "But why didn't you come home in the mornings?" "Because I'd be sleeping in the car," I said. "It was closer to the hospital. She said you gave me up." I looked at her then. "Did you believe her?" She hesitated. "I don't know." I nodded. That night, I opened my records. I printed the payment logs. Rent, utilities, food deliveries. Every deposit into my father's account labeled Emily. I placed them in a folder and labeled it in Sharpie, in case they rewrite it again. I didn't intend to use it, not then, but I wanted it ready. The next day, my sister called. Her number lit up 3 times before I picked up. "They're upset," she started. "They said you embarrassed them at the school." I didn't respond. "And Mom says you're being dramatic." "She impersonated me," I said flatly. "She claimed guardianship she doesn't have." "You don't have to make this legal," she said. "It's family." "Exactly," I said. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. That weekend, I changed my number. I sent an email to the school requesting that no one except me be allowed to access Emily during school hours. I included legal paperwork again: custody, authorization, emergency contacts. Every boundary in black and white. I also called the mortgage company and requested a full investigation into the hardship forbearance. The woman on the phone was polite but wary. "Ma'am, we'll need a fraud affidavit." "Send it," I said. "I'll sign it today." Emily and I spent Sunday cleaning out the garage. She found an old box of her drawings, crayon suns, stick figures, misspelled notes to Mommy. She held up one with 3 people, her, me, and someone tall with a question mark instead of a face. "I used to draw them in," she said, "even when they weren't around." "You don't have to anymore," I said. "But what if I want to?" I looked at her. "Then do it. Just draw the whole story." She smiled and taped the picture to the fridge. That night, I received a text from my mother. No greeting, no apology. Just this: "You should be grateful we raised her while you figured your life out." I stared at the screen. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled out the envelope with the signed fraud affidavit and walked it to the mailbox. Then I came back inside, made tea, and sat beside Emily as she sketched a new picture. This time, there were only 2 figures. Us. Holding hands under a blue sky, with a house in the corner labeled ours. It escalated faster than I expected. The day after I mailed the fraud affidavit, I got a call from the bank's legal department. They had reviewed the submitted documentation, compared digital signatures, and confirmed what I already knew. "Miss Whitmore, someone impersonated you to secure financial relief," the woman said. "We're escalating this to our fraud unit. You may be contacted by law enforcement." I thanked her, then sat in the kitchen staring at the steam rising from my untouched coffee. That evening, I told Emily. Not everything, just enough. "Some things were filed in my name without my permission," I said, "so the bank's reviewing it now." "Is Grandma in trouble?" she asked. I looked at her. "Do you think she should be?" Emily didn't answer. She just opened her sketchbook and drew quietly until bedtime. 2 days later, my sister showed up at my door. No warning, no call. Just knocked like it was any normal Sunday. I didn't open right away. I let the silence stretch until she knocked again, softer this time. I opened it 3 inches, just enough to see her face. "What do you want, Marianne?" I asked. "To talk," she said. "We didn't think it would go this far." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You forged my name. No, Mom did, she snapped. I didn't even know until the bank started calling. And you said nothing? I thought you knew. She looked exhausted. Eyes ringed red, like she hadn't slept. She said you were fine with it, that you'd agreed. Then why did she ask Emily not to tell me? Marianne paused. Because she knew you'd make it a thing. It was a felony. It was survival. I stared at her. You stole from your niece. We paid the bills, she said defensively. We took care of her. With my money. You weren't there. My voice dropped. Because I was working 16-hour shifts to pay for the life you pretended to provide. She flinched. You think you're the only one who sacrificed? I didn't answer. I just stepped back inside and closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night, Emily found me sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by folders. Are you going to sue them? She asked. Maybe, I said, but not because I want revenge. Then why? I looked at her. Because I need a line between truth and fiction. And right now, they're living in the space between. She nodded slowly, like she was too young to understand, but old enough to know it mattered. The next morning I met with Ethan, an old friend from nursing school who'd gone into law. We sat in a quiet booth at a diner where the waitress knew him by name. I slid the folder across the table. They paused my mortgage using a forged digital signature. They've been taking money meant for Emily for years. There are texts, bank logs, transfers, voice messages, everything. He flipped through the documents without speaking. When he finished, he leaned back. You know you have enough to press charges. I don't want jail, I said. I want distance. He nodded. Then we'll start with a formal cease and desist, financial restitution, and if they cross another line, then we escalate. Exactly. That week, I received a letter from the school's legal office. They had completed the update of all records. Guardianship, pickup rights, emergency contact, media permissions. Only my name remained. I hung the letter on the fridge beside Emily's latest drawing, a courtroom, a judge, and two tiny figures standing side by side, mother and daughter. Emily titled it Team Truth. A few nights later, my father called. I let it go to voicemail. His voice was quiet, tired. We didn't mean for it to unravel like this, he said. Your mother thought she was protecting Emily. We didn't realize how far it had gone. He paused, then added, Please don't destroy the family over paperwork. I played the message twice. Then I sat down and wrote a letter of my own. It wasn't long. Just a single page. I listed every month I had sent money, every document forged, every lie told to a child in my absence. Then at the bottom I wrote, I didn't destroy this family. I just stopped covering up what already had. I mailed it without a return address. The next morning, I found Emily standing in the living room, backpack slung over one shoulder, staring at the album her grandmother had sent. It was still on the shelf where I'd left it, half covered by library books. Can I throw it away? She asked. If you want, I said. She nodded, picked it up gently, walked it out to the trash bin herself. Later that evening, I watched her sleep, her breathing slow and steady. And for the first time in years, I didn't wonder if I was enough. I knew I was, because the truth didn't need applause, it just needed air. By the end of the week, the calls doubled. First my mother, then my father, then Marianne again. I didn't answer. They left messages, each one more frantic than the last. We just want to talk. Emily needs her family. Don't let this go too far. I listened to them in silence, then deleted them all. On Monday, a thick envelope arrived. No return address. Inside were printed screenshots, bills, bank statements, late notices, highlighted and annotated in red pen. On top, a sticky note in my father's handwriting. We're not doing well. You've made your point. I put the papers back into the envelope and left it on the hallway table. That night, Emily asked if she could invite 2 friends over for a school project. I said yes. She cleaned the apartment herself, set out snacks, even folded the extra blankets on the couch without being asked. When her friends arrived, I heard laughter, the sound of scissors cutting poster board, and the occasional thump of a dropped marker. It felt normal. It felt like home. After they left, she turned to me in the doorway. You know what one of them said? I looked up. She said she didn't know my mom was cool. I smiled. I'm not sure that's accurate. Too late, she said. I already told her you make the best grilled cheese in the zip code. That was enough. The next morning, the school counselor called. "Hi, Miss Whitmore. I just wanted to let you know Emily mentioned something in class that concerned me, about her grandparents." My throat tightened. "What did she say?" "She said they told her you weren't coming back, that you left because she wasn't enough, that you were too tired to be a mom." I stayed quiet. The counselor's voice softened. "She said she doesn't believe it anymore, but that she used to." I exhaled. "Thank you for telling me. She's doing well, academically and socially, but that kind of emotional weight, it leaves traces." "I know," I said. "We're working on it." That night, I pulled out the old photo box. The one I'd never shown Emily. Inside were Polaroids, time-stamped receipts, hospital ID bracelets, old drawings she made for me when she could barely spell my name. I laid them out on the floor like breadcrumbs. When she walked in, she stopped. "Are these all?" "Every minute they said I wasn't there," I said. She sat beside me, picked up a photo of her sleeping on my chest in a hospital chair. "You stayed?" "All night, every time." She held the picture for a long time, then whispered, "Can I keep this one?" "It's yours," I said. "They all are." The next day I got a voicemail from Marianne. Her tone was different, not angry, not pleading, just small. "They're selling the house," she said. "The taxes, the loan, it's too much. Dad's blood pressure spiked last week. Mom's been crying. They said maybe you could, I don't know, help us stabilize. Just until things settle." I played it once, then again. Then I opened the file on my laptop titled Closure Documents. I added a new page. Voicemail, the 3rd of April. Ask for help. After consequences begin. I didn't reply. 3 days later, I found Emily in her room writing a short story for English. The title was The Girl with Two Names. It was about a girl who was told her mother didn't want her, only to find out she had been loved the whole time, just quietly, just behind the scenes. At the end, the girl chooses her true name, the one her mother gave her, and walks away from the ones who tried to rename her. I didn't say anything. I just hugged her. The next morning, a final envelope arrived. Legal stationery. Inside, a formal request for mediation. My parents wanted to discuss restitution, possible reconciliation, and future visitation. There was a note clipped to the back. "Family doesn't keep score." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I picked up my pen, flipped over the paper, and wrote, "You're right. Family shouldn't have to." Then I folded it neatly and slid it into the shredder. I made grilled cheese that night. Emily said it was the best batch yet. The investigation moved quickly after that. The flagged application triggered a formal inquiry. Ethan filed updated documents, and within a week, we received confirmation. An internal audit at the bank showed clear intent to impersonate, repeat offense, multiple identity points matched to my records. I wasn't surprised. The desperation was loud now, predictable. 2 days later, I got a call from Emily's school. Her art teacher sounded hesitant. "Miss Whitmore, I wanted to let you know your daughter's grandparents came by this afternoon. They said they were dropping off a gift." I froze. "What kind of gift?" "A framed copy of her drawing. They said they were proud." I closed my eyes. "Did she see them? Number?" "They left it with the office. But I thought you should know." That night, Emily didn't say anything. But I saw the unease in the way she hovered near her door, the way she double-checked the lock before bed. "You don't have to worry," I told her. "I've already talked to the school. They're not allowed to show up unannounced anymore." She nodded. "They act like they're still allowed to be proud." "They want to borrow your story," I said, "to rewrite their own." She looked down at her hands. "I don't want to be anyone's redemption arc." "You're not," I said. "You're your own beginning." The next morning, I drove to the house I hadn't seen in years, the one they said they were selling. The front yard was overgrown, windows still covered with the same lace curtains I remembered. There was a moving truck in the driveway, half loaded. I didn't knock. I just sat in the car and watched from a distance. At one point, I saw my father walk out, pause, and look around like he felt something watching him. Maybe he did. He stood there for a long time, holding a lamp he hadn't boxed up, just staring out at the neighborhood. Then he turned and disappeared inside. I left before anyone saw me. That night, Ethan called with news. The fraud alert triggered more than expected. "There's evidence they attempted to co-sign a student loan last year, in your name." My stomach dropped. "I never applied for one." "Exactly," he said. "We're compiling everything into a consolidated case file. It's more than forgery now. It sustained financial impersonation across state and federal lines. What happens next? I asked. We press charges, he said. Or we don't. That part is up to you. I didn't answer right away. I stared at the wall for a long time, the ticking clock loud in the silence. I'll think about it. The next morning, there was a note taped to our door. No envelope, just a folded page. The handwriting was my mother's. You win, it said. We're moving. The house is gone, your father hasn't slept, we're broken. Are you happy now? I read it once, then again, then I threw it away. Emily saw the crumpled paper in the bin. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. That weekend we went to the park. It was bright, breezy. She brought her sketch pad and sat on a bench, drawing people from a distance. I watched her, the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the way she tilted her head before making the next line. You're getting really good, I said. I want to do it for real someday, she replied. Art, I mean, not just for school. Then you will, I said. You always had the eye. She hesitated, then asked, Do I still have to see them, if they ever ask? I looked at her. Number not unless you want to. Good, she said, because I don't want to be polite about people who lied to me. I didn't argue. She wasn't wrong. A few nights later, I heard from Ethan again. One last thing, he said. They tried to access the suspended mortgage account again. It triggered a lockout. They never stop, I whispered. They don't know how, he said. But the good news is now the system knows them too. I didn't say much after that, just thanked him and ended the call. That night, I pulled out an old receipt, one of the first I ever saved the hospital copay the day Emily was born. I framed it, hung it above my desk, not because of the amount, but because it was the day it all started. Not the debt, the devotion, the decision to carry what no one saw, and to keep carrying it even when the people watching claimed they were the ones holding the weight. Spring turned to summer without ceremony. School ended. Emily's room filled with sketches, museum brochures, a short list of pre-college art programs she was still too young to apply for, but wanted to dream about anyway. I let her. I printed every application, bookmarked deadlines, made lists of scholarships. Sometimes I caught her practicing her signature on the corners of napkins, like she was preparing to own her name in ink. The investigation closed quietly. Ethan forwarded the final report. Financial impersonation confirmed, damages calculated, recommendations for civil recourse. He left a voice memo. You've got options now. They can't reach for your identity again. They're locked out permanently. I didn't press charges, not because I forgave them, but because I no longer needed the law to tell me who I was, or what had been done to me. They had already lost access to the one thing they tried hardest to claim: my story, my silence, my place in the narrative. They had built so much on the assumption that I wouldn't fight back. But I had. And then I stopped fighting altogether. Not from defeat, but from choice. Let them live in the ruins of their version. I had no more energy to spend excavating theirs. One evening in late July, a postcard arrived. A generic image of a beach town, no stamp, just slipped into the mailbox. The handwriting was unmistakable. My mother. We're near the coast now, smaller place, quiet. I still keep a drawer with her pictures. I hope she remembers us. I hope you'll let her. I didn't show Emily. I tucked the card in the back of a file labeled Past Do Not Reopen. It was the same file that held the forged mortgage documents, the fake student loan application, the photos from school events I was cropped out of. They had left paper trails for everything except remorse. And by then, I didn't need any more proof. Emily had begun drawing a new series portraits of women holding invisible things. One clutched a ghost. Another balanced a house on her shoulders. One held a mirror, cracked but still reflecting. She asked if I'd let her display them at the local library's youth exhibit. I said yes. The opening night was warm, filled with small-town chatter, cookies on paper plates, folded programs printed in grayscale, but her drawings stood out sharp, quiet, unsentimental. They told the truth in ways words rarely could. A woman stopped beside me and whispered, "That one feels like it's about someone real." I nodded. They all are. When we got home that night, Emily found the old album again, the one her grandparents sent that first time, the version without me. "Can I look at it?" she asked. I nodded. She flipped through it slowly. I watched her eyes move over each curated lie. After a few minutes, she closed it. They made it seem like I was a gift they rescued. she said. You weren't a rescue, I said. You were always mine. I know now, she replied. I just wish they hadn't waited until they were losing me to want to tell the truth. People lie loudest when the silence starts to expose them. She sat beside me. Do you think they'll try again? I think they already know they've lost the version of you they could rewrite. Is that why they still try to send letters? I looked at her. They send them to me. I don't read them anymore. Can I? You could, I said, but you don't need to. She paused. Then I won't. That was the end of it. Not a dramatic cut, not a slammed door, just a soft refusal. A girl choosing to remember herself through the eyes that saw her first. Weeks passed. We settled into a summer rhythm, late breakfasts, museum visits, quiet evenings. I started taking photographs again, nothing posed, nothing planned, just fragments of our life as it was now. Emily, sketching by the window, the shadows on our hallway wall, her laughter, caught mid-turn, blurred but bright. One morning, I uploaded them to a drive titled Our Album. No captions, no explanations, just images. Uncropped, unedited, unapologetically present. On the first day of the new school year, Emily wore a denim jacket she had patched herself. On the back, she had embroidered a small phrase in yellow thread, seen, not borrowed. At drop-off, she hugged me tighter than usual. Thank you, she said. I didn't ask what for. I didn't need to. On the way home, I stopped by a print shop. Picked up the framed photo I'd ordered last week. It was the one from her art exhibit, my favorite of the series. The woman with no face, holding a mirror. The reflection was a child. Underneath, in small type, Emily had written, "She carried me even when I couldn't see her." I hung it in our hallway, across from the front door, so that every time we came home, we'd see it. A reminder of the truth. Not shouted, just quietly placed, where no one could erase it again.